Hello. This is a comment analysis about U.S. foreign policy in the Greater Middle East with regard to the Arab and Muslim world. This is Walid Phares from the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. In this analysis today, I would like to discuss the Obama administration approach to the region. In this first session, I'd like to talk about the various challenges that the new administration is going to have, will be having, and additional challenges that may occur during the next 4 years and even beyond that. If one would look at the geopolitical situation in the Greater Middle East, that would be from Morocco to China, encompassing North Africa, the Levant, all the way to Iran and Afghanistan and beyond. If one would study the various conflicts that took place, those initiated through what was known as the War on Terror, i.e. U.S. interventions in Afghanistan, a U.S. intervention in Iraq, but also the other conflicts that have preceded these two interventions, the Israeli-Arab-Palestinian conflict, the Lebanese-Syrian tensions, the problems in Sudan, and of course the Iranian involvement through the war with Iraq, and of course the greater issue of human rights and democracy in the region. If one would look at this whole picture from the end of the Cold War through the post-9/11 era, the U.S. interventions on the ground, the Al-Qaeda expansion in the region, and the Iranian role in a variety of spots, if one would look at this whole geopolitical drawing, if you wish, and then look at the agenda of the Obama administration in all what it promised to achieve during the campaign, between the election day in November and, of course, when the Obama team came to the White House and President Obama took office, one would project the following. Number one, the Obama administration is going, without any doubt, to face off with the same challenges and crises that the Bush administration has faced with, which means that there are no crises in the Greater Middle East which are going to fade away, just go away, by the mere fact that there is a change in Washington. And that is an important statement to make, so that the American and international public, but also the public in the region, in the Middle East, understand that a mere change, in as much as that change is important in Washington, without actually taking roots in the region, without seeing what are the actual policies of the Obama administration, that is not going to create a projection in the region which will correspond to changes in the region. So the same conflicts that existed under the Bush administrations, the 8 years of Bush administration, since 9/11 at least, those same conflicts are going to be addressed by the Obama administration. And the question here is, how will the new American administration perceive these conflicts, address these conflicts, prescribe policies for these conflicts, and manage the policies so that these conflicts are addressed. The second point, which I would like to make, is that not only these conflicts under the Bush administration are going to continue to be there in the region and Washington will have to deal with them, but they may be new conflicts, emerging crises in the region as well, either because of the previous conflicts, as an offshoot, as a growth of these conflicts, or new confrontations between forces which have decided that the time is ripe under the Obama administration, or because they believe that there is a regional context which would allow them to move forward. So in this introduction session today about U.S. policy in the region, I would like to go over the first number of conflicts that the Obama administration will have to address, and a number of other conflicts which were brewing, were potential, and which may come to exist as real crises in international affairs of different dimensions. So let me begin with list number one, the classical, most important conflicts that the Obama administration will have to face. Number one, by the order of the American interests, strategic interests, is definitely the issue in Iraq. On the one hand, it is the place in the Middle East where the United States has invested in terms of large numbers of military personnel, 10 or more divisions, plus their equipments, for over 6 years now, in terms of fighting a second stage of the Iraqi operation after the regime change, the bringing down of Saddam Hussein. It's basically to create a new situation allowing the Iraqi state, the Iraqi government, to conduct by itself a campaign against the terrorists. So that would be what the Obama administration will have to face. And here the questions are, yes, there is a commitment by this administration to withdraw most U.S. forces within 16 months. The question, not the analysis, just the question, will the U.S. administration apply the principle of factor time, chronological withdrawal, regardless of who will be behind to keep the equation, to keep Iraqi national security up and running? That's an important question because it will tell us about future potential crises. Meaning, if the Obama administration withdraws most of the forces within the 16 months, which most likely is going to happen, there are two questions. One, will the Iraqi government and armed forces and civil society be strong enough, able enough to stop Al-Qaeda and the other jihadists from coming back to Iraq, at least to the Sunni triangle? If yes, then the Obama administration policy in Iraq will be successful on this issue. If no, not only this will be a signal for a U.S. defeat or failure, but the consequences of the return of Al-Qaeda to the Sunni triangle will be enormous, not just for Iraq, but for the region. We'll come back to that point in another comment or session. The second challenge in Iraq is going to be the Iranian penetration of Iraq. If the withdrawal will allow the Iraqis to maintain their own sovereignty over their own country and making sure to contain any sort of Iranian Khomeinists reinstallment or control over at least 2/3 of the country between Baghdad and Basra, if that is successful, then the Obama policy of withdrawal within those 16 months will be a victory, will be a success. If that is not a success, or if the withdrawal will lead to the comeback or the spread, if you wish, of an Iranian influence in 2/3 of Iraq, the consequences will not be only for Iraq, that the Iranians will influence decisions in Iraq. It will be for the region. And we will discuss those strategically challenging threats if we have no success in stabilizing Iraq after the withdrawal. So that is a conflict which is unescapable, which the Obama administration will have to deal with. The second conflict, obviously, is going to be Afghanistan. And the questions in Afghanistan are going to be as follows. The Obama administration said they're going to increase the level of troops in Afghanistan so that there will be additional pressure on Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. The question is, until when? The question